Hey everyone, Kiwi here. The cryptocurrency market sells off as Bitcoin and Ethereum break down below their ranges, and the greater fool's theory becomes as relevant as ever. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Cold Plunge every day until Bitcoin 50K. Today we will be going over some cryptocurrency current events, talking about what the greater fool's theory is, and of course, going for our cold plunge. The current temperature right now is 50 degrees, another unseasonably warm day, and the pool temperature is sitting right at 50 degrees. Crypto cold plunge! All right. We should have some colder weather coming later this week, so hopefully the pool starts cooling down a little bit more. Like I mentioned earlier, it's sitting right at 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is bordering on no longer being a cold plunge, unfortunately. I've been talking about maybe getting a brick of ice and, well, might have to do something. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Since the water is 50 degrees, I'll be staying in for about 6 minutes now to really get the effect of the cold. Man, I love the cold. Love it. Love the cold. Feels so good. If any of you have started cold plunging because of me, or you've been inspired seeing what I'm doing, or you're just curious about like how to get into cold plunging, or you know where to start, then please leave a comment below, start the conversation. I'd love to talk with you about it. I'm very passionate about this subject, as you all can tell, and I'm prepared to cold plunge as long as it takes until we get Bitcoin 50,000. Then I'll continue cold plunging after that. One contingency plan that I have for what I might be able to do if the water does get too warm is start ice bathing in the actual bathtub. I just would prefer not to do that because that's not as cool as swimming in the pool, and you know, the scenery is not too cool. I mean, I'll be filming cold plunge from the bathroom. I think that's a little weird, but we got to do what we got to do. One important thing when cold plunging is to get as much of your body in the water as you can. I see a lot of people, they sit up to about their armpits. You know, they'll keep their arms out of the water and they'll really only keep their midsection and lower in the water, but you're missing out on a lot of the effects. I've read about how important it is to get your armpits under, and also like the base of your neck, you know, which is the top of your spine really. And also if you get the arms in, you know, it's just more skin to expose to the cold. And also the armpits and the top of the spine are pretty sensitive areas. So you want them to get as cold as possible also. And then another trick that I might employ, given that the water is warmer now, is to swim a couple laps underwater. If you do that and you can really get your head nice and cold, then that greatly increases the sensation of being chilled. So I think it's about time for our underwater meditation. Since it is a little bit warmer, I think I'll go for longer, about 45 seconds, because the head won't get cold as quickly. Yes, ma'am! My favorite part of the day! Very nice. All right, and then I'm gonna go for a quick underwater swim. I'm just gonna swim down and back. Gotta get creative. The name of the game here is getting cold, so gotta do whatever I can to get cold. All right, so that does it for our cold plunge. Let's go take a look at some charts. As I mentioned earlier, we've been seeing a sell-off in the crypto markets over the last 24 hours. If we take a look at Bitcoin here, we can see that this was where we were talking about it yesterday. It had finally broken above that trend line that I had drawn and was in the mid 34,000s. But unfortunately, right after that, it began selling off and continued selling off the entire day with not a whole lot of recovery. And now we're sitting in the low 31,000s
testing this local support that we have here. If it does break below 31,000, then we do have more support at around the 30,000 level, which if we zoom out, we can see has been tested 3 times this year since it broke across the 30,000 level for the first time. We got 1, 2, 3. But unfortunately, we can see that this trend of lower highs continues. At this point, we seem to be forming somewhat of a right triangle between the 30,000 and these lower highs. Seems to be that we might be approaching the apex of that formation pretty soon here. So volatility might be increasing in a big way soon. We just have to really hope that the bulls can hold that 30,000 line. Now, as I mentioned, the weakness was across the cryptocurrency markets in general. So if we look at Ethereum here, we can see yesterday we were talking about it as it was moving sideways right under that resistance level in the mid 1400s. Unfortunately, it could not definitively break through that level, and so we sold off again. We can see on pretty average volume here. We've formed a pretty clear pattern on the Ethereum chart of rally, then sell off, rally, then sell off. So we might be able to test that resistance a third time, and if we do, it could be big. All we can really do is sit back and hope. There doesn't seem to be too much capital rotation within the cryptocurrency markets. Seems to be rotation out of cryptos. Lastly, as I mentioned earlier, the greater fool's theory has once again become relevant in this frothy market. Steve Sosnick, chief strategist at Interactive Brokers, wrote this article yesterday talking about the different phases of the market and the democratization of the markets. In 1999, with the invention of AOL and chat rooms, we saw information able to be passed around very quickly and thus leading to some incredible rallies in some stocks. One example he uses is this pink sheet stock that rose from 50 cents to $25 in the course of a few days back in 1999. At the time, the canary in the coal mine was that the tip had come from a Vegas blackjack dealer. The greater fool theory comes into importance when coming up with your investment thesis. Sosnick talks about always having a rationale for making an investment. Says it could be fundamental, technical, news related, or even momentum. But if your only reason for making an investment is solely that you think someone will pay more for it just because it is going up, you are betting that there is a greater fool than you. This is extremely important because in these times of extreme asset valuations and examples like GameStop, if you were to buy GameStop right now, you are betting that there is somebody more foolish than you that will pay more money for the stock than you did. Be very careful out there, everyone, and always remain vigilant.
And that does it for today's episode of Cold Plunge Every Day Until Bitcoin 50K. Thank you again for joining me, and as always, if there's something that I missed or you think I should know or should cover tomorrow, please leave a comment down below. And with that being said, I will see you tomorrow.